Hey all, Nuie here. Back again with another class rundown video. Again, this is not going to be a pimp my build video. This is just simply a rundown and overview of what the classes are going to be like, or what's to see changed in classes. This today I'm going to be doing a bard, or not a bard, summoner video. So that's why I'm chilling here on my summoner critical fear. I'm just going to run through all the talents as well as the new rubies that have changed and give my basic thoughts and overview of the new summoner in 8.1. Overall, we just have looking into the talents. We have Avid Shadows, Healing, and Vampirism. In terms of summies in general, they have actually access to 3 aspects, which is a little bit unique in terms of classes, but I think all the healing classes actually actually have access to all 3 of the classes. So they can be supports, they can be DPS, or they can be healers. The only thing they can't be is a tank, unfortunately. Um, but whether it's any of those 3 builds, Vampirism is a must. Avid Shadows is not a must in heal build, but it is a must in DPS build, and I would definitely run it in support build. Healing I would run in DPS build, but not so much in healing or support. Moving down, Howl of Death, another damage ability. Good for DPS, good for support, not so great for healing, not even useful in healing. Bloodstream, useful in healing, but to a lesser extent than the other healing abilities, though it does still give you back blood, so it is useful in terms of that. Blood Aegis. Blood Aegis is useful in most useful in support and most useful in healing. Also can be somewhat useful in DPS aspect, though blood issues might make this a lesser need in DPS aspect. Fear of Death is a fear ability, very useful in PvP, very useful in support aspects. Can be useful a little bit in PvP healing, but not so useful in just general healing in PvE. Like a Mending, very useful for healing, not so great for support, definitely not useful in DPS. It just consumes blood and heals your entire party, so it's a very strong heal in healing aspect, though it's just not, I can't really suggest using it in support or DPS. Volatile Infection, very useful in PvP support, or in PvP support as well as DPS overall, but the main use of it in PvP support is typically to get your get your debuffs out. So that goes off of this ruby right here, which is acute systems, which gets your debuff out, but you need support aspect for it, so that's why it's useful. Going back to summoners overall, summoners is one of the 3 offensive debuffing supports. So instead of buffing your party, they debuff all your opponents. So the other 2 classes that do this are Psionicist and Mage, but their goal is always going to be to buff or debuff enemies instead of buffing your party. So that's how you want to play those 2 when it comes to support. I'm not gonna give my builds or anything like that, but I'm gonna say that's the way that summoners are more played, is that they debuff parties instead of offering buffs to your party. This is just the damage aspect. Lets you use assault rubies. Blood Ties. Blood Ties is a little bit of a tricky skill in that it does damage to you, but it also gives you blood drops. I definitely can see the use of it in healing aspect. I don't particularly like it in DPS, and I do like it a little bit in support aspect, just in case you want to grab that extra little bit of blood, you have that extra ruby. It's nice, but it's not going to do any crazy type of healing for you except in healing aspects. Moving on, Neurotoxin, useful DPS, useful support. Gets as the higher ticks it goes, can do a lot of damage. This is just heal aspect, lets you get your healing rubies and stuff like that. Healing injection, very useful in very useful in healing builds, and can be useful in some PvP builds, but the cast time on it can make it a little bit difficult to use correctly. Life Tap is just the upgraded version of vampirism, so can be useful, not entirely not entirely needed though across all builds. Um, Searing is a interesting skill in that it does damage, but the damage it does is nothing compared to the healing it does. Especially when you're running the healing rubies for it, its cooldown is or its damage is very little in comparison to the amount of healing it will do overall. So I like this ability. I also like this ability in combination with blood ties. I want to say, but might be. I'm thinking more of Dark Renewal, because then you get more healing output from it. This is support aspect, just lets you use support rubies. It's necessary if you want to run a support build. You can't run it without it because none of the rubies will work. Cadaver, another minion. I have seen some DPS builds with it. I've seen some support builds. I've never seen any healing builds. It's not very helpful to healing builds at all. Ghostly World. Ghostly World is another sleep type of skill. If you've seen my Bard video, it's much like that Ruby where it will put the enemy to sleep. Again, it's a useful thing for like enemies that you don't really want to fight. It also can be kind of useful in PvP for removing a healer or something from a situation for a brief period of time. It can be marted out of, I'm pretty sure, so there's still that, but it still has its uses. Wandering Fever, good damage ability, good for DPS, good for support, not very useful in healing builds. Dark Veil, very good for PvP, very good for support aspect, good for healing aspect, especially if somebody's taking too much damage. You can Ghostly World them, make them invulnerable to damage, and then heal them up while they're in that. So very useful for that. Lurker. Lurker is another of your minions. It is my favorite one overall. It's useful in support and it's useful in healing because it returns blood to you based on how many times it attacks. Also in healing aspect, as it attacks, it also heals your party for slight amounts, so it's useful in that aspect. Dark Renewal. Dark Renewal is very good for healing aspects, and I can see some application of it in PvP support builds, but I can't recommend running it in any DPS build whatsoever. Your two Dragon Tier skills are Dark Vigor and Dark Palm. Dark Palm and Dark Vigor are both useful in all three of your aspects. Regardless, it will boost your, Dark Palm boost your damage and outgoing healing in healing build, and outgoing healing and damage in support build, and damage build it simply increases your damage. So it's useful. The things you want to be aware of it, you have to be targeting an enemy to cast Dark Palm, so you can't just use it on an ally. It has to be focused on an enemy. So if you're going to use it, you have to switch to an enemy if you're healing in order to cast it. Dark Vigor, very good skill. Increasing the level doesn't actually decrease the cooldown of it. So if you're gonna run one of the Dragon Tier skills, Dark Vigor can be passed on for Dark Palm because its cooldown will not get lower, whereas Dark Palm's cooldown will get lower as you upgrade the level of it. Dark Vigor increases your blood generation by 1 drop of blood every second, and it also increases your damage, which is the only thing that changes as you upgrade its level. It'll go from 10% to 20% to 30%, I believe. So 30% being at level 3. But 6 rubies, 30% damage for 11 seconds is nice, but again, it is a Dragon Tier skill, so if you don't have the Perma Tier, it can be a little bit more difficult to run. Moving into the Ruby Tree, nothing really changed in the first grid. No, the layout of it is the exact same, so there's not much difference in that. The only thing I want to highlight here is Ritual of Pain and Thrill of Pain. Ritual of Pain is can be a tricky ability to use because it running the full rubies of it will reduce the cooldown dramatically, but also it will do a portion of damage to you. It'll do 15% of your health to you as damage. I think this can be mitigated if you're using Blood Aegis. So I think it'll actually consume one of your Blood Aegis effects instead of doing the damage to you, but I'm not certain of that. I'm not entirely 100% sure of that, so I don't particularly run that in support builds. I do run the ability itself, like I do run the ritual, but I won't run the actual rubies for that because I just don't see the point of doing the damage to myself. And since I typically will run both rituals, I don't see the need to have a reduced cooldown because I have other things that I can cast at the same time. The main difference between Ritual of Plague and Ritual of Pain is that Ritual of Pain will get out Volatile Infection, whereas Ritual and is single target, whereas Ritual of Plague is AoE but won't get out your Volatile Infection. So if you're casting Ritual of Pain, be aware that it's only casted on one person, and then the Volatile Infection will do damage to the people around him. Whereas when you cast Ritual of Pain or Ritual of Plague, you will still have to cast Volatile Infection, but it will spread all of these abilities to everything around it. So it's a bit useful. I do think we did get a slight reduction in range of these. Yeah, it used to be 15 yards, it's been reduced to 8 yards. So you have to be a little bit closer when you cast this, but it's still a good AoE ability. Other than that, moving on into the second grid tree here. This is a new ruby for us. It's Catabolism, I think is the way you pronounce that. It's good for healing, very useful in healing aspect. Reduces or increases the cast speed of Healing, Blood Scream, and Blood Feast. So those abilities are channel abilities, so being able to cast them faster means, one, for Blood Scream means getting blood back quicker. Blood Feast, it means healing a little bit quicker. Both of those return blood to you, so they're very good. I definitely recommend running this ruby for the new healing. And this is the other new ruby in this grid particularly. It's Step through the Shadows. You dissolve in the shadows and teleport to the target, generating 6 drops of blood. If you know how healers, their jump ability, I can't think of the name of it. If somebody could help me out with it in the comments below. But that ability, it's much like that, and it regenerates blood for you, so it's a good ability. I think it's useful in both support and healing builds, especially because of the vulnerability and bloodthirst abilities that it busts for your party. So I definitely like this ability. If you have the extra rubies, I definitely recommend running it. Other than that, there's no real other grid changes in this grid. Moving on to the last grid, here's another new ruby is Path of Life and Death. Allows moving at 100%, 125% speed while casting healing spells or using the Blood Feast ability. This is crucial when it comes to healing because it finally solves the issue that summoners had in terms of play, where they are not mobile healers. They are completely immobile in past patches when it comes to healing, so this is super helpful. It lets them move, it lets them be able to cast healing abilities, it lets them be able to cast their healing spells while moving, so they don't have to stand still and cast them. This makes them more playable in PvP. The other change, actually, looking back at the second grid, they've taken away one of the blood shield abilities. So that is the major difference between this Blood Aegis and the past Blood Aegis. They've taken away one of those, but all the other abilities seem pretty much the same. But overall, that's my full rundown of the new summoner class in H.1. I think the changes are nice. I think they're gonna be cool. I think it makes the summoner more playable in terms of both mobility and just team strength in terms of PvP. I like the new summoner, and I'm happy to be able to play it soon. So that's my thoughts on it. Be sure to leave your thoughts on new summoner in the comments below. Be sure to leave your thoughts on 8.1 in general below. This is the last class video I'm going to do because these are the 3 classes that I'm going to be playing, which is Paladin, Bard, and Summoner. These are the classes I know the best, so these are the only ones I really want to do videos for because I don't feel like I'm strong enough on the other classes to be able to do videos for that. I also don't have the other classes to be able to do videos on them. I guess I could just create a new level 10 character and just show off that way, but I don't have enough comfort level on the other classes to be able to make videos for that. So I apologize for that, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys continue to support and follow my channel and subscribe to it. As always, feel free to leave any comments you have on me below, and I hope to see you guys in game. I will catch you later.
Heaven sent my residence is evident, just visiting, blending.